Hey, we're privileged today to have Graham Renz from the Show Me Institute in studio with us. How you doing, Graham?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
And I was teasing him. I think I said it before the segment. I was asking him, was he a trust fund baby? Because Graham Renz sounds like it's the name of someone with money and means, but he assures me that he's not.
Not like that. No, not quite trust fund baby level.
All right, good. All right. Well, as we've been seeing here locally, there is a proposal. Well, there's been a big move to try to get soccer here to St. Louis. And there was a group, the Peacock, the guy with Anheuser-Busch, that was trying to get the Ram Stadium, and another group. They were the main ones trying to get the stadium here. They have an option to buy some land over by Union Station. But with their proposal, it's going to be a few dollars short. And then we've had another group that has come in and said, hey, we'll make up the shortfall, but I don't know what they want. I don't know if they want to be a part of the group or what their whole thing. I guess if you're going to put money in, you're going to be a part of it. But Graham is going to enlighten us on the proposal and the details of it, because I haven't gotten into it all that closely because I'm not a soccer fan. But Graham is going to tell us the pros and the cons, and should we do it or not do it? I forgot, they don't take a position, but what should we do?
Yeah, just here to talk policy. But just for a little bit of background, St. Louis has been trying to court the MLS to bring an expansion team here to town. And full disclosure before I get off, I am not a soccer fan.
Neither am I.
I am a NFL fan, though, and I still didn't quite like the deal that was hashed out.
Right.
So either way. So some background, we're trying to bring a team here.
Okay.
There's one potential ownership group that's been favored by the MLS.
Right.
They're called SCSTL.
What does that stand for?
I think it's Soccer Club, not positive.
Okay.
Don't quote me, but that's what I think it is. They have a proposal for a $200 million stadium right next to Union Station here. They want to put in $120 million, and they want taxpayers to fill in that $80 million gap.
Right.
There's another group called City Foundry, and they said, hey, you know what? Taxpayers shouldn't have to cough up $80 million to a group of what together is a group of individuals worth billions of dollars.
Right.
Taxpayers shouldn't have to subsidize these super wealthy folks just to bring a soccer team here.
I agree.
So we'll fill in that $80 million gap. Presumably they want some ownership stake. The details aren't out.
Right.
This is just kind of happening right now.
Do we know who these people are? This second group that wants to put in the $80 million, who are the names that are associated?
We
with
only
that group?
know a couple names, and that's been part of the critique of this group. And we can get to that. They've been kind of subject to some consternation,
right?
Because a lot of folks just want to do whatever they can to get an MLS team here. MLS has favored this first group, SCSTL, that wants the subsidy. And this other group is kind of coming in, stirring things up. But what's great about this other group is that they're willing to put their own money up.
Right.
They're not willing, or they're not going to the taxpayers.
Right.
They're explicitly against going to taxpayers asking for a handout.
They must have saw what happened with the St. Louis Rams deal. They're smart people.
You know what? I
think.
can't vouch, but what I can say is that we look at stadium deals all across the country, across different kinds of sports, soccer, football, baseball, whatever. Right. So subsidizing major league sports stadiums is not a new phenomenon in this country, but the research on the economics of this, right? It's incredibly clear. It's not, you know, it's almost as clear as, like medical research. Right. It's very clear. There are no economic benefits for the region, and there's absolutely no financial returns for either taxpayers or the city from deals like this. We're essentially being asked to cough up $80 million, and we're not going to see any boost in the economy. Right. The city's finances aren't going to be better. Taxpayers aren't getting, $81 million back after, a period of time. Right. All we're going to get is a soccer team. Yeah. And a lot of soccer fans are probably cheering that on. And I'm sympathetic to it. But we have to look at this from a kind of cold, hard, objective point of view, from a public policy point of view. And it doesn't look like coughing up $80 million is the best idea here.
I'm having like a deja vu moment right now, because I'm thinking back in the early 90s we need to have a football team, and if we build this stadium, we're going to have all of these residual benefits and all of these jobs. And as we saw with the Rams leaving, it didn't happen. That's probably the same thing do you know when is the soccer season? What do you know what the time frame is?
I do not know.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering, maybe it's spring, and I'm wondering what type of economic impact will it make? What do you know what they are claiming the economic impact will be?
It's funny you ask that. Just as a side note, I think MLS has more games per season than, say, NFL does. So there's potential for it to have a bigger impact. And it's funny, you remember the dome that was formerly Edward Jones. You look around it now, and it's just... There's been no economic development.
No.
It's a bunch of empty parking lots. But what's funny is with this new MLS proposal, they're not boosting any economic development benefits, because I think they've realized that tactic doesn't work because, again, the research is incredibly clear. We're not going to see any boost in the economy by pouring $80 million onto a stadium.
I'm wondering, too, because I think the Board of Aldermen just passed some tax incentives for Ballpark Village Phase 2. Mm-hmm. And, unfortunately for that to be coming out, and then you've got this group in April that's going to want an $80 million from the taxpayers. I mean, is that bad timing for them?
It certainly never helps to have a bunch of tax issues going up. And for the MLS, the funding, the public funding would be put to a referendum, to a public vote.
Right.
So it's not like the mayor's writing them a check or anything. It's different with Ballpark Village with the second phase of development. I may have talked about it here before, but just a little background for Ballpark Village, the second phase. They already the first phase got $49 million in subsidies. And now they're coming back asking for a special sales tax district to generate an extra $16 million. Right. There's a bunch of stuff on the website, showmeinstitute.org, to read about Ballpark Village. But just to get back to the MLS, I think this brings us to a good point. And that's, I think, the question of how many measures can taxpayers afford? How many things can we ask for them to pony up their cash for? The mayor wants to expand Metrolink. That's going to be a multi-billion-dollar project with different merits and demerits in the stadium, right? So different project, but the mayor wants to do that. The water department wants to increase rates. We're giving away tens of millions of dollars in subsidies every year just to get developers to put up buildings, right? That don't help the economy. Right. So we're spending so much money we don't have. We're asking for tons of money. We got to get to the point where we ask ourselves, how much can we afford? And how many other projects are we blocking out by, if we use up all the tax base now, what about a project that really deserves some help in the future that we can't pursue? And
that kind of segues into, we had before you a woman named Nicole Jenkins that is trying to revitalize the neighborhood she grew up in, North St. Louis. And I asked her, how do you feel about what you're doing, trying to revitalize the neighborhood, and you see all of these abandoned houses where there's crack houses and drugs and all this, that they're trying to raise money for a soccer stadium, but these type of things are being neglected. I mean, St. Louis City right now, North St. Louis, South St. Louis, even downtown is wild, wild west. I mean, for a while there were shootings going down Market Street. We're shooting at each other like it's Chicago 1920s or something. You're saying, I just think that people are just going to get tired of giving handouts and subsidies to millionaires. Yeah, I think that's true. And we're going to get to a point where we have to scratch ourselves on the head and say, what have we done here? What situation have we gotten ourselves in financially, economically? And hopefully we realize before we get to that point that we've got to just stand up and say no to some of these giveaways, because only people who win are they tend to be really wealthy and in positions of power, and the ordinary folks like you and me, folks who are paying taxes, we're on the short end of the stick nearly all the time. Tell us where people can get more information on this soccer proposal and Show Me Institute in general. So best place to go is our website, showmeinstitute.org. I've got a bunch of blogs, op-eds, testimony up there on these topics, a lot of great resources for folks who are trying to learn some more. Well, I want to say in my best Thurston Howell the Fourth voice, thank you, Gromrins, for enlightening us on this soccer proposal, and hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for coming in.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you.